Good day. Welcome to the PoliticsJOE Pubcast, Love Podcasts, Hate Nonsense. Bringing you the news this morning, myself, Oliver Dugmore.
And me, Edward Campbell.
First up, the Rugby World Cup. Springboks overcome the All Blacks by 1 point. Followed by that, Boris Johnson's heading to GB News. And our final story of the day, the COVID inquiry. But first, the sport with Edward Campbell.
The Springboks beat the All Blacks in a thrilling final in Paris on Saturday evening by a thrilling margin of 1. I've not seen anything like it since the Fosbury flop. Back to you, Ollie.
Thank you, Edward. Disgraced Prime Minister Boris Johnson has joined disgraced news channel GB News. The former Prime Minister will be presenting his own show.
On the wireless.
Love Podcast, Hate Nonsense, the PoliticsJOE Podcast, ladies and gentlemen! Dudes rock. Dudes rock.
Do you think the audience will believe that wasn't scripted?
No. I think they will believe it because it wasn't as smooth as I expected it to be. Ava's away, the boys will play, and it's just the two of us in this rather news anchory looking setup. So
absolutely.
I think it was the right vibe to start with.
Yes, and we might never repeat it.
Yeah, I think probably not.
That's what Saturday Night Live is.
It was.
Cold open.
Yeah, I like it.
Live from New York.
No one knows what's fucking going on.
Yep.
How are you, Ed?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very, very well. How were 36 hours in Sofia?
Tiring, draining for, well, people who don't know, which is literally everyone else. I don't broadcast my travel plans. I was in Bulgaria for about a day and a half. I arrived at
Sounds pretty punk.
11 p.m. Bulgaria time on Friday evening and left at 6 a.m. Bulgaria time on Sunday morning. And in that time, we had some beers. Mm-hmm. We went to a second-hand shop. We went go-karting. And we watched the Rugby World Cup final.
Okay.
None of which I'd have been able to do in the UK.
Absolutely
on
not.
Saturday.
No, absolutely not. They fucking suck.
I'm glad we did that.
How cheap is a beer in Bulgaria?
I think it was about 4 to 5 lev, 4 to 6 lev, and it's roughly 46p to 1 lev.
Okay.
So it's about
£2 to £3.
£2 to £3.
I like the word lev as a currency.
It's good. Their coins are actually quite. They look really old fashioned. They have like it's like kind of like runic. The numbers look runic.
Nice.
It's quite cool. It's quite a good design choice.
Love that. Anything good in the pawn shop? Anything good?
The pawn shop.
Yeah. You said you went to a second-hand shop.
Sorry, did you say pawn shop?
Yeah, pawn.
Sorry, I thought you said porn.
Yeah.
Can you say pawn and then porn?
Pawn.
Exact same. Sorry,
yeah.
that's the exact same word.
Yeah, no, there isn't a difference in enunciation for me. There probably should be.
Yeah, I think for instances like that. I was like, I didn't go to a porn shop.
Why are you outing me?
It's because, so my friends...
Sorry, can you do it? Pawn. Again?
Pawn. Porn. That's slightly better. I'm also listening out.
Yeah,
for it.
I'd just they sound the same to me.
Not me.
Anyway, did you get anything decent there
in the porn shop?
Yeah.
So we did a similar trip in Vilnius last year in which we did the exact same things, and we did not do anything culturally Lithuanian. Yeah. And when we were there, we all bought like a tracksuit jacket there for some reason.
Guys being
dudes. And so we went and we all bought something from the second-hand shop. Bizarrely, what 4 out of 8 of us ended up with was some sort of Norwegian cricket merch. There was an absolutely disproportionate amount of amateur Norwegian cricket club merch.
Right.
And it's all like, just like
the Oslo Trailfinders.
Yeah, some stuff like that. And we're trying to work out why the hell is there this massive consignment of cricket merch.
Sounds like a vibe.
It was so I got a sleeveless something like a training top that said I don't know how to pronounce this last name. Might be Zahir, but it's HZAHIR.
Okay.
And the number 333 on the back.
Cool.
And my friend got a jumper with the exact same players' stuff. So Mr. Zahir donated his stuff.
Yeah.
To a second-hand shop in Sofia.
What sports are the Norwegians good at? Because you've got me thinking that. First of all, I can't imagine they play cricket. The cricket season in Norway can't be particularly long.
No. or good. Well, the one cricket club was founded in 2005.
Okay.
That's how recent a thing it is.
It's modern. Okay.
Yeah.
They clean up at the Winter Olympics, don't they?
I think so. Probably like skiing,
And
ice skating.
they've got a couple of football players now, haven't they? Because Haaland's Norwegian.
Odegaard as well.
Yeah. So they've got 2 players, which is probably enough to get them into the Euros.
No, nope. They were in Scotland's group.
No way.
Absolutely put to the sword.
By John McGinn's Barmy Army.
Absolutely. Who's better, John McGinn or Erling Haaland? Who could possibly say whether Lyndon Dykes is a better player than Erling Haaland?
Sorry, so they haven't qualified?
I don't think they can qualify. Can anyone? I think Scotland and Spain have qualified from that group.
No way.
Yeah. Absolute fucking eat dirt. Erling.
Okay.
He's not as good at football as anyone in Scotland.
And are we kicking off? Seeing as we should continue the sporting theme, we'll kick off the
Back
show.
to sport.
Back to the sport with Edward Campbell. And now a report from the streets of Sofia, where Edward Campbell watched the Rugby World Cup.
In a Irish pub surrounded by lots of Bulgarians in South Africa stuff.
Okay.
Which I don't know why that was there.
Mm.
I didn't know Bulgarians had a particular interest in Springbok.
Rugby.
Or rugby in general. Or cricket, or Norwegian cricket.
Yeah.
If I'd done anything cultural, I could have asked.
I'm pretty sure I think the Bulgarians are quite good at judo.
How do you know that?
One of my judo coaches was a Bulgarian lad, and he was fucking good at it. No, they are.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they're, I think, also quite good at wrestling. I don't know other than that, though, national sports.
Yeah.
Anyway.
If only someone had recently been and could have found out.
Your thoughts and feelings on the Springboks. I know that I wouldn't say that the Pubcast has a particularly sort of rugby vibe.
No.
But I think it's worth commenting on for what the Springboks team has kind of come to symbolise and be in South Africa, and the sort of the significance of them winning the tournament twice, back to back, becoming the first ever nation to win it 4 times, and also Sia Khaleesi's role as the captain and all of that. I think it's a very significant sort of. It's the sport politics crossover, right? It is a moment of huge significance in South Africa because the team sort of has come to represent a very diverse country. You know, sort of 12 official languages, all kinds of ethnic backgrounds, and the Springboks have sort of come to encapsulate and be the thing that kind of binds them all together. And so them winning in this way is hugely significant.
Yeah, they must. I wonder. I think it was Jonathan Lewis said in his article afterwards for The Guardian. He said he wondered, like, do they feel a sense of like, is it winning in a Springboks jersey worth more to them than it is for an England player? An England player doesn't have a political role to play when they play for England. There's no one will say they won the Rugby World Cup. It wouldn't have solved the political turmoil that we found ourselves in.
Anything, it's like putting like 5 grams of cocaine in the Tory party. Like they are just going to go.
They're going to make worse decisions.
Whatever you thought was bad already, it's going to be far fucking worse.
This is my mandate.
Jeans and shoes for everyone.
We're moving Whitehall to Twickenham. Whereas in South Africa, there's a chance for, like, Nelson Mandela famously wore Francois Pienaar's jersey at the 1985 World Cup final, was seen as a real unifying moment for the nation. And I think that was kind of the narrative around the Springboks again, that regardless of what is happening in the country that is so deeply divided, has so many issues within it, it's the one thing that South Africans can turn to and support together.
Yeah, totally. I think there's a really interesting line again in that Jonathan Liu piece, which was something like South Africa lived by refusing to die. But essentially, the way they play rugby is kind of, and that's the analogy that's drawn, right? Is the constant chase of like the 1%, the sort of the tyranny of inches that by outgritting and outworking, you can just over a process of accumulation eventually become far better than all of the opposition. And I guess that's kind of encapsulated by the fact that they beat France, who were before the tournament were widely considered favourites to win it. They beat them by a point in the quarters. They then beat England by a point in the semis, and both of those games, they got 1 point ahead with like 2 minutes to go. And then finally as well, New Zealand, they also beat by a point. And I think what you're saying there about it meaning so much more to them is super, super relevant.
Mm-hmm.
There's from the 2019 tournament, there's Razzie, the Springboks coach, Razzie Erasmus. He's giving a halftime team talk. It might have been against Japan, and he's basically like screaming at them, and he's like, the people in this fucking stadium in this country, they have no idea what it's like. He was like, every 15 minutes, a woman is murdered in our country. They do not know what it is like. Put on that fucking jersey and go out there. Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's like, it's pure, like, honestly, it's, it gives you goosebumps just listening to it. And, you know, despite not being South African, you're like, oh yeah, I'd probably run through a brick wall right now.
I think that's why Scotland qualified for the Euros. They talked about Scotland's drug death epidemic. Steve Clark in the changing room. We have the worst drug death record in Europe. Scottish men are dying at rates unheard of.
Give them something to cheer for,
Give them something to live for.
Give them a reason to live. This is an incredibly poor taste.
Yeah, that was bad. Oh, well,
it's fine though.
I can say it.
Yeah, I mean, you can say it. Maybe I can't say it.
Yeah. If you said that,
well, that is deeply offensive.
That's deeply offensive.
Yeah. So big news. I think you have to talk about Sia Khaleesi in the same breath as you talk about Jonah Lomu. I think as a rugby icon.
Yeah.
The only
it's a different icon. As in, was Jonah just kind of strictly a rugby sporting icon?
You're absolutely right. He wasn't. He came to represent something much more, particularly obviously in New Zealand. And I think you can say the same, honestly, about Khaleesi. I think there's a really, really good video where he gives a speech about, I think it's after the 2019 World Cup, and the South African team, they're given some like random award that I've never heard of before. But basically, like they go out there and he gives a speech about essentially coming from where he's come from where a lot of the players have come from, you know, like
townships.
Yeah, a lot of township players. Before the 2019 tournament, Cheslin Colby finds out that his best mate's been murdered. There's a really, really touching story about one of their wingers, Makazola Mapimpi, where they did like some kind of thing for the team where it on their jerseys where the numbers were, you know, so 1 to 15, the colour was made up of sort of, you know, photos of friends and family. So it was kind of like what we've been talking about, like you are here for South Africa. And Makazola Mapimpi didn't have any photos of anyone. But he had no living family, no friends. Like he's literally just a kid from the township who's made it out by playing rugby. And again, Razzie Erasmus, there's a video of Razzie Erasmus telling this story and just like breaking down in tears, telling the story. You know, where they have come from, where a lot of these players have come from, the adversity that they've overcome to then literally get to the top of the world twice, back to back. It's insanely impressive. And so there's this, I've forgotten the name of the speech, I'll probably have to stick it in the subreddit or something, but Khaleesi basically accepts this award and then gives a speech talking about that. And I really do. I think he transcends being a captain. I think he's like becoming like a cultural figure.
Yeah.
Even when like before the game, right? You watch him sing the anthem. Fucking watch it. Again, I'm not South African, but I get a little bit, I don't know. When he starts singing it, you know, chest out, head back. Yeah. You can basically like see right up his nose.
And he's also the icon. He's the first black captain of the Springboks.
Yeah.
As well, which as an icon,
obviously,
in itself is very important.
Yeah, hugely. Anyway, so well done, South Africa.
Yes, congrats to Go Bokke.
Yes, go Bokke. That's what they say, isn't
Absolutely. it? Absolutely. Do you want them to win?
Did I want them to win?
Yeah. Let's undermine all that good
work. Yeah, no, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because they beat you. They beat England. So you go, oh well, then you kind of want them to win because then you lost the champions. But no, I didn't want them to win. I wanted the All Blacks to win probably. I love watching the All Blacks play. It's it's a completely different rugby philosophy, isn't it? The sort of South African like attritional like horror game versus the flying dare of the All Blacks. I wanted Sam. You know, if the All Blacks had won, Sam Whitelock would be the only player in history to have won it 3 times.
Oh, that's good. That would have been a good stat.
Yeah. So I quite have liked that for him. I don't know. I thought it was I'm ambivalent about it. It's a weird one. It doesn't really. If it was another Northern Hemisphere team in the final, like if there was a Scotland and Ireland or whatever, I would be cheering on whoever was playing them.
Yep.
I would be fuck Scotland, fuck Ireland, fuck Wales. But because it was two Southern Hemisphere teams, it was just like,
Yeah.
sport has won the day.
Rugby has won.
Thank you for that dispatch, Edward. Back to the news.
Back to regular programming next week. There's going to be so many comments about I bet our audience is quite anti-rugby
Yeah, possibly.
and quite like sports bally.
I think there is a bit of it. There is interest in sport, and I think you can't. It's not like we're here fucking doing like the Gallagher Premiership breakdown, you know.
So let's talk about the Cornish Pirates result. At the weekend.
Against the Ealing Trailfinders. No, versus it is the World Cup. I think you do talk about it.
So fucking shut up.
You do talk. You do talk about it a bit. I don't know. We spoke about the Euros as well, didn't we, earlier this year? And Rubiales.
Yes, I mean it's Man City as well.
Exactly.
Body.
Yeah, it's kind of people shit muncher oxygen thieves love to say that keep politics out of sport. What are you doing? Why on earth? Why are we taking a knee? Why is there a flag for Ukraine? Why are the Palestinian flags being shown at fucking at the Celtic ground? And it's like, in your tiny little brain, I appreciate that you think this is just 11 blokes kicking a ball around against each other.
Mm-hmm.
It is not. It was not. It never has been. Politics and sport are so fundamentally linked to each other. Even the way that you and I now are saying, does the audience like rugby? That is a coded way of talking about class, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, I suppose
particularly in England. And the joke I made earlier, right?
Yeah.
If England win the World Cup, that's like putting 5 grams in the Conservative Party.
Yeah.
It's because, and actually, it's really I'd be interested in doing more on this. But I can't speak to Scotland, but certainly in Wales, where I lived for 3 years, rugby is not a middle class sport. Rugby is a working class sport.
It's a middle class sport. Farmers in the borders and middle class in the rest of Scotland.
Yeah. And so it has different class connotations between Wales and England, obviously. But yeah, I mean, politics runs impermeably through all of these things, and to suggest that they're not, that they should be separate, or that they're not, it's just a joke, really.
Yeah, not a funny one.
Like most of the ones I tell on this podcast.
Absolutely.
What do you want to do next? You want to do Boris? Do you want to do the COVID inquiry? Let's do Boris. Okay, so on Friday, announced that Boris Johnson would be joining GB News as a presenter in the new year. Johnson will create and present, quote, a new series showcasing the power of Britain around the world. Fuck.
That sounds so shit. What terrible pitch.
This sounds like Appointment of You.
Wait, good news. We finally have a 4th channel, GB News. You'll have to get your television retuned.
In the spirit of capitalism, we welcome our competitor to the marketplace. As well as producing documentaries for the channel, I would watch a Boris Johnson documentary. I would fucking lap up a Boris Johnson documentary. Let me tell you that, Ed Campbell. He will also host, quote, the occasional special in front of live audiences. That feels like a Farage at large copycat vehicle.
Yeah, but I actually wonder, I think there will be conflicts between what GB News wants Boris Johnson to do and what Boris Johnson would like to do. Boris Johnson would probably like to do quite high-minded documentaries or lectures about Roman poets. And GB News will be like, you need to sit down with Neil Oliver and hash this out once and for all. Boris Johnson versus Neil Oliver. Is COVID real?
The defining take.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, what? There was a time when, having been Prime Minister,
it used to be quite an important thing.
Yeah. You sort of, you would retire either to the south of France or a shepherd's hut and pen a memoir. Mm-hmm. You would publish the memoir that everyone in the political bubble would read, talk about for about 3 days, and then forget about. Mm-hmm. And then you would go and do an after-dinner speaking circuit at places like BlackRock, fucking HSBC, BAE, or, that motley crew of bastards. And you would just cream off that for live out your days in obscurity. And occasionally, maybe you would intervene in the public debate on matters of great national import.
And people would take your opinion seriously and with the weight that the office of Prime Minister inherently gives it.
You see, I'm thinking about this now, and then I'm going, okay, so who could we say has done that? And then I'm like, couldn't say it about Blair.
Well, Blair's done it about...
He came full send into Brexit, didn't he?
Yeah, but he's also... Well, he has his institute. He's gone around making cash advising autocratic governments.
Yeah, no, for sure. So actually has been maintaining the traditions actually quite nicely.
Yeah.
And we should respect
He's
him
inspired
for it.
most
No,
of
I'm
these
just trying
post office traditions.
I'm just actually wondering if, like, the nostalgia and the sort of the callback that I'm issuing, I'm just now questioning as I say it whether it's actually real, whether it was ever real.
Cameron did it. Theresa May's still an MP.
Yeah,
Gordon Brown, I don't think he took BE money. Did he?
I highly doubt he took BAE money.
He's busy living in Fife and thinking.
Thinking about very serious things. Yeah, no, he does. He does. No,
John Major?
Was it Laura? Were you telling Gordon Brown has like a friendship with, I think, Shakira or someone? He does work with UNICEF, I think, about inspiring like reading. And one of their other ambassadors is, I believe, like a reggaeton pop star. And so there's a ton of photos of them at like events together. Am I right on this? Yeah, it's Shakira, yeah. And so there's like, I encourage the audience to Google Gordon Brown and Shakira. You will see there's tons of photos of them.
Sick.
And apparently they have quite a nice, wholesome friendship. Gordon Brown, the intellect behind New Labour. Shakira, deliverer of bangers.
Yeah, and somehow we've escaped that. Those halcyon days in just 13 short years, and Boris Johnson is now taking GB News cash to present. I'm going to predict these documentaries won't be very good.
On what possible grounds do you base those remarks, Edward?
The other output that GB News produces.
Yeah, that would be a pretty strong. Yeah, that would be a pretty strong indicator.
What?
I actually think, you know what, fuck it. I actually think, presumably they're not going to try and broadcast the documentary live. You know, they can sit on it, they can edit it and get it right. And I think that's, you know, that they have that going for them.
Yes, but they can do that with their other stuff.
No. Yeah, okay. There are other films, fine. But like, you know, the live bits and pieces where they cut to, you know, someone who's not there or whatever, and the audio's terrible, etc. It is quite hard doing live broadcasting, I think. So
many other people do it.
Yeah, fine. I don't know. I think they can hide in the safety of post production, can't they?
What do you think? I think there is a very obvious answer to this. Why do you think Boris Johnson has done this?
Well, it's money.
Yeah. Let's not pretend it's anything else. You'll be being paid a lot of money for this.
Yeah.
I think that's the only reason why you would do this.
How poor is this man? Like,
what lifestyle is he sustaining?
Like, literally, what is the fucking alimony? Like, what is he paying out to these women?
He needs lawyers to review his contracts.
His fucking like after dinner speaking gig. I swear we were looking at it. It was millions, right? It was millions of pounds. Daily Mail column,
A lot of money.
Again, a lot of money. And GB News.
Yeah, like I think at least 500k.
It's a real shame, actually, that he's no longer an MP, because
you'd be able to get the
declaration of interest, register of interest. You would know how much it was. I mean, the column for the Daily Mail, if it's anything like the Telegraph was 250 grand a year, wasn't it? So let's just assume the Mail was either that or more. Probably have to be more.
Probably more.
As he was now an ex-prime minister. Let's just, for the sake of argument, say he's raking in more than £1 million a year, and I think that's undercutting it quite significantly. I think it'll be he's earning much more than that. Why the hell does he need that much money?
I don't know.
What is he doing?
In fairness, though, like, he's not the first rich person to want more money. Like, it's like, I don't know.
I have never heard of this before.
You've just been introduced to the concept of greed. You're like this
God,
perfect.
There's something really ugly about his personality. I can't quite put my finger on it.
You're actually this perfect innocent. I'm about to uncover your eyes and introduce sin to you.
So we live in an economic system called capitalism.
I've heard of gluttony, my boy.
Yeah.
Wait till you hear about billionaires.
Yeah, okay, fine. So what's he doing? Why does he need the money?
I don't know. He wants a bigger house. He wants a boat. He wants his own jet.
Is he doing it for money?
Yes.
Is what I will follow? Is what I will.
100%.
Yeah.
If he was doing it for any other reason, he wouldn't just be doing a documentary series about how Britain's good and then maybe do live presenting. If he was doing it for he wanted a consistent political platform or a voice, he would have a primetime show. Because there's no way GB News wouldn't want him to have a primetime show. This is a negotiation between GB News and Boris Johnson between what they'd have wanted, which is Boris Johnson being the flagship presenter and him being like, oh, fuck it, I'll do 1 10-minute special on Isambard Kingdom Brunel. And then Shakespeare every 6 months, and you give me all your money. And then you can put me on the posters.
And then Angelos is there yes, Daddy.
Yes, we did it. This is easy. We're the greatest TV channel in the world. We are so back.
We're so back, baby.
Admittedly, guys, our recent reputation is going to have gone downhill.
We have filled the gap in our register with the pretend priest, with one of the former prime ministers.
Absolutely.
Whoa!
Do you know, great news, his reputation just as good as ours. It's so, yeah. Is there anything? What could he do that's more demeaning than this?
Boris Johnson?
Yeah, I think it's quite a demeaning thing for him to do.
I don't know, because this, and I may have given this piece of analysis before. I don't know if GB News is. I don't think they're pursuing it as a business, as a successful business. I think if they were a startup and they described themselves as a startup, you'd look at what they were doing, and you'd see the deeply expensive TV channel that basically no one watches apart from downward entourage, and then the digital side of their business, which is wildly successful. I think if you're the CEO of a startup, I think you go kill the TV channel. That costs us fuckloads of money. We're all in. We keep the studio, we keep the talent, but we just produce digital. They won't do that, and they haven't done that. One, because they're not serious about being a business. It's about prestige and it's about changing culture. And they need to do that. They need to be a TV channel, because within the political class, TV is still viewed as sort of, the most relevant mass media form of communication. It's what entitles them to, the ministerial broadcast rounds, etc. And so I think that Boris Johnson joining is sort of a part of that, right? It's kind of it's creating a cultural vanguard, a media vanguard for the sort of the right wing politics that follows.
It gives them legitimacy.
Yeah,
which they have quite a lot of people undermining that on their channel.
Well, this is the thing, right? Because they lose Fox and the pretend priest, and and actually I think those are net goods for GB News. Because you basically you cut off the cranks, and then you go, okay, we're actually verging towards having to take this relatively seriously now. I think they probably just need to lose Neil Oliver.
Yeah,
the Coast guy.
Yeah. Oh, there must be others.
Daubney.
Yeah,
but he's not I wouldn't say he's
not on the same level.
He's not completely discredited. If
no,
he has kind of he has somehow managed to stand for office. I think did he get elected? Was he a Brexit Party MEP? I think he quite possibly could have served in the European Parliament.
That gives him one of our greatest ever public servants.
Sorry, I'm going to have to Google that. I'm afraid I do want to look that up. Sorry, Ed, you're going to have to riff for a little while.
Neil Oliver was furious about this appointment.
Was it?
Yeah, raging.
Oh, because he's like, you are part of the
you
fucking
did this to us.
World Economic Forum, Illuminati, Boris Johnson, big lizard guy.
You're the reason that all our children are poisoned with a vaccine. It's something he might have said. He didn't. But I bet he thinks it.
Martin Daubney has represented our fair nation, this sceptred isle, in the European Parliament.
Do you think that's what one of the documentaries will be about? Martin Daubney's service in the European Parliament.
A testimonial.
Do you think
one of our greatest public servants?
Something that would be more demeaning is if Boris Johnson was broadcasting himself live on TikTok and just ranting.
Oh, what? But doing like the dog stuff, drop a carrot in the chat and over and over again, just over and over again,
doing like an NPC role play,
being humiliated by like Gen Zers,
or those ones with like drop a carrot is like keep me awake ones, like someone sends them a $5 and a klaxon goes off.
I could see him, Clockwork Orange style, like strapped into like a gurney with his eyelids held wide open.
Or if he tries to become like a YouTuber, but he's like 10 years behind the trends and is doing like prank videos, doing a cinnamon challenge.
Yeah, that could. Yeah, would that be more demeaning than a documentary series on TV News? I mean, it's an open question.
He might make more money from being a YouTuber.
Yeah, if that's what it's all about. I just don't. Yeah, you just see the after dinner speaker circuit, right?
Yep.
There's that viral, semi-viral. Is it Matthew Parris or Jeremy Vine piece that like recounts attending a dinner that Boris Johnson? Are you familiar with this?
I don't think so.
Pre all of this. Pre COVID. I think even pre Brexit. I think it is Jeremy Vine. He writes. I think it might be in The Spectator, and he writes about an awards show somewhere in Westminster of which he is kind of the au pair. No, compere. he is Boris Johnson's au pair. He's the compere, and Johnson is the culminating speech. And Johnson comes flying through the door sort of 5 minutes before he's due to go on stage, sits down at the table, the sort of the top table, writes down sort of he makes a big deal and his volume goats, blah blah blah, DEFRA, blah, 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 goes up on stage, hair up, tie, blah, 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 and then delivers like a 20-minute pitch perfect thing that ties together all the little things that he'd wrote together. Yada yada, brings the house down. Everyone was like disgusted and appalled. Who is this Boris Johnson? Where is he? By the end of it, he's won them over with his boyish charm,
absolutely,
and eloquence. And then he flies out the door and the tornado, he's gone. And Jeremy Vine goes, "Oh, that was incredibly impressive. Wow, as if he's just pulled that together." 10 years later, at another do, Boris Johnson is the afternoon speaker, and the entire thing, start to finish, carbon copy, happens again. And so it's like, oh, you are not some incredibly gifted. Like it's a bit, it's a shtick. And I think if you can do that as he was doing it back then, except for possibly 10x to a factor of 10, the amount of money maybe that he's making. Why would you not just go and do that? And I think it's because I think it's political relevance. I think it's media relevance. I think it's money. Money is obviously part of it. But I don't think you can say, I don't think he's done.
You don't?
No. I don't think he's done.
Do you think he'll have his own vehicle? Or will go back be welcomed back into the Conservative Party?
That is an interesting question. I guess it depends what happens post-Rishi.
Yeah. I don't know if he could be arsed with the admin of his own political party.
I think him plus Farage could be a pretty heady political combo. The GB News Party.
Yeah. Oh, God, don't give them ideas. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if he could be arsed with the... Like he was Prime Minister, and I bet he fucking hated it. I bet he hated...
Yeah.
It went nowhere near as well as he'd have liked. It was difficult. He was wildly unpopular for a lot of it, and it was everything he'd ever dreamed of. And I think that would be quite a souring experience. And also, if you believe that you were stabbed in the back by your party, and you still remain very popular within the rest, like the wider party, and you perceive it as the MPs having stabbed you in the back, then I think I would leave quite a bitter taste.
Yeah, I think he still. I think he subscribes to the great man of history thesis, and he views himself as kind of a Churchillian figure. And I don't get me wrong, I think if I was in his shoes, I'd be like, fuck this, never again.
Yeah.
After dinner circuits, Caribbean holidays. But do you remember he came flying back from the Caribbean? Do you remember?
Oh, yeah. What do you say? Like, we'll do it, Dudders.
Yeah. Or something like that.
Yep.
And he had the MPs. He had enough to, I think, I can't remember. It would have been to contest with Rishi Sunak, wouldn't it? After post Liz Truss, I think is the time.
I think so.
Yeah. So in theory, he could have come back and done it, but then he sort of stepped away, declined, even though he possibly could have done. So I think he still has the appetite for it. It's just a case of the timing, I guess.
Mm.
I could see him coming back. Can't keep a good man down.
No.
Unless, segue, he comes unstuck in the COVID inquiry.
Oh, very good. You can't teach that.
You cannot. You cannot teach that. You cannot teach that. So yes.
Bloody big week.
It is. It's a big old fucking week in the COVID inquiry. Witnesses giving evidence in front of the inquiry's chair. Heather Hallett giving evidence this morning are Martin brackets, Party Marty Reynolds. It is only within the confines of Westminster that any of these people could be described as Party Marty.
You organise one party.
If I organised a party and Party Marty was turned up, I don't think he'd get in.
What do you mean?
Why can't I come in?
I'm looking at this. Look at this crazy jumper I'm wearing. I brought apple ties. Doing like fucking everything in the world is about sex apart from sex. Sex is about power. Let me in. Some kind of freak. Let me in. I've got a thing or two to teach you about the world, boy.
So Party Marty Reynolds, he sent the infamous BYOB email inviting officials to drinks in the Downing Street Garden, and Johnson's former private secretary for public services, Imran Shafi. I think Lee Kane as well today, director of comms.
Certainly this week. And
then let us not fucking forget
Dom Cummings tomorrow.
The motherfucker tomorrow.
Oh, that's going to be good.
Can't wait for that.
That's going to be box office.
100% it will be box office.
Yep.
Anyway, so they keep losing their phones, this lot.
So forgetful. They're so forgetful.
So I don't want to cheapen the discourse about the COVID inquiry, which is very important, exposing quite a lot of, but essentially just the complete and utter chaos at the heart of government as all this started. But they've run into some problems in large tranches of the inquiry, and this is not just party political either, but basically several of the key people involved no longer have the WhatsApp messages from the period. This includes the current Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, the then Prime Minister Boris Johnson, and then First Minister of Scotland Nicola Sturgeon,
and Jason Leach, at the time clinical director.
Yes, and again, I don't want to cheapen this, but it got me thinking, and it reminded me of, do you remember during the Wagatha Christie shenanigans when Rebecca Vardy's PA was asked to submit her phone in evidence about leaking stories, and she said it was at the bottom of the North Sea?
Yeah,
as they had issued their call for evidence, she had gone on holiday to Scotland, I think in about November, which for an English person is not something you generally do.
No. I want it to be darker and colder.
Yeah, it's usually the reserve of like you and Laura, and it's only because of like familial commitments that you subject yourself to that. No, I'm joking.
Family Christmas.
Nonetheless, anyway, so she did that. Then again, I think in November took a boat out into the North Sea and dropped her phone overboard, unfortunately losing all of the evidence that it contained. So it could never be proven or shown, I think, that she was the one who was leaking the stories that Rebecca Vardy was seeing from Colleen Rooney's private Instagram account, that she was feeding them to her PA, who was then in turn feeding them to the Sun. And that essentially was Rebecca Vardy's defense in court, was that there is no evidence that we've done this thing. And I think the judge basically went like completely mental and said that he had never seen like such such a failure to disclose evidence in the history of any of the stuff that he'd been involved in. And everyone rightly looked at that and went, well, you are clearly you're covering something up.
Oh no, my phone!
Oh, God, I dropped my phone in the North Sea. Not least, and I don't mean this. This is going to come across in a gendered way, but I don't mean it to. But these people, like wags and their PAs, their phones, their social media following, that is literally like how they make money, their life. It's very important to them. So the idea that someone who works in comms or is a PA would just be holding their phone over the side of a boat,
Big wave,
in the North Sea in November.
Oh no! It's like, is it The Usual Suspects? Not The Usual Suspects. Is that what I mean? The film?
It is a film.
The one about Al Capone. Is that the one I mean? Untouchables.
The Untouchables. Yeah.
You know that scene where like the pram is going down the stairs, and Elliot Ness is like, "No!"
Her husband holding her back. Don't jump in the sea.
The evidence.
Oh,
no! My commitment to justice. My reputation will be shattered.
Sweet Lady Justice drowned that day.
Is such bollocks.
Anyway,
so they have deleted the WhatsApps.
Yes, no, completely. So anyway,
everyone
sees Rebecca Vardy's assistant and Rebecca Vardy and their failure to disclose evidence for exactly what it is, and is like, you are just fucking lying, and you think you can pull one over the court. I don't understand. Well, actually, I do understand why, in the instance of our political leaders, when they say, "Oh yeah." So I kept forgetting my passcode, and it did that thing where if you do it like 50 times, it wipes the phone. Like fucking. Was that Lord Bethel? I think that was one of his excuses.
Something like that.
Lord Bethel, you don't even know. You don't know that an iPhone can do that. No. Your fucking SPAD has told you that it does that, and you've gone out and said it. Oh, Richard, I kept changing my phone and blah, 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 blah. Do you mean to tell me the man who is responsible for running the fucking country cannot transfer his WhatsApp over to a new phone? And also,
everyone talks about him being like a tech guru. That's his thing.
Yeah.
That's his thing.
Silicon Valley guy.
Yeah, Silicon Valley guy.
Where's a hoodie?
Where's a hoodie? But he's actually one of like an old person with their font up to like times 100.
100%.
Squinting at his phone.
I also I want to be really fundamentally clear about this as well. If you, for whatever reason, have some kind of involvement with the police, and that is not just, by the way, as in, you do something criminal. If you're your party or you're a witness or whatever, and for some reason your phone is required in evidence for sort of digital forensics, etc. If you wipe your phone, you will face destruction of evidence charges, right? That is literally what will happen. If you're fucking if you're being chased by the police because you committed a crime, and then you whip out your iPhone, factory reset, gone, so that when they arrest you, there's nothing in evidence. You will face that charge as well. Literally, that is what happens, because fundamentally now, so much of what we do can be proven, shown, etc. Where you are, what we do with phones, they're a huge part of forming the evidence file for a case. Not just anything, can literally be anything. And I've also followed stories and tried. Maybe I won't tease this so much as I would want to, but nonetheless, there are people who have sort of submitted their phones in evidence to show one thing. The police have gone through the phone, found evidence of something else, and that person has then faced a criminal charge for something that was totally unrelated. They were trying to help out, etc. Now they're a criminal. All of this kind of thing. But if you're a politician involved in managing the country during a crisis, it's just fucking
oopsie.
Whoops.
Oh no. The evidence.
Can you say whoops for me?
Whoops.
Yeah, they're nice. Nice.
Whereas whoops would be what we do at the beginning of the podcast.
Yeah, that's a whoop.
Yep.
It's kind of like a porn.
Yep.
thing, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's just... Are they destroying the evidence because of political embarrassment? Because, we're already seeing things coming out, like them describing various scientists as like fuckwits.
Dr. Death.
Yeah, Dr. Death, Rishi Sunak, being called Dr. Death by some of, again, the scientists involved. I think there's... I don't know how the fuck George Osborne would know this, but he's been rambling on saying that he thinks there's sexist messages in the next tranche of evidence.
Yeah.
Which I'm gonna. I think he was saying. He said on his podcast, he was like, I've been told, well-placed sources have told me that there's going to be some pretty damning sexist messages to come out. I'm going to put it. I don't think you have to be a genius to guess that Dominic Cummings and Lee Kane, who hated Boris Johnson's wife, hated her with a passion, said some pretty nasty things about her on WhatsApp.
Yep.
I'm going to suggest that George Osborne's well-placed source on that one was probably just his own limited rationalism. I think he probably just...
No. He's a genius.
A very well-connected one.
Yeah, it just seems that they should have... It seems bizarre. WhatsApp isn't new. WhatsApp has existed for over 15 years? 15 years? If that?
Fuck it, why not?
Yeah, it's not a new messaging service. So why have we, like... Why? I suppose this maybe speaks to a wider difficulty in legislating around technology. Like, technology is improving and expanding at such a rate that it's now beyond, like, almost impossible to regulate. Like the AI regulation, like the AI summit this week, that's really important. But I'm kind of concerned that what they're talking about is like 5 years out of date.
Yeah.
Because we've just heard about ChatGPT. They're already probably developing something entirely new that by the time the legislation comes to pass, will be redundant almost. And also, if we don't have any any regulation around politicians using WhatsApp, like what? That's not a new thing.
Yeah, I can't believe it needs saying. The government should not be run over WhatsApp. You know, have they heard of emails?
Yep.
But I don't think it's that outrageous to suggest that perhaps, you know, maybe there should just be some secure communication over email. That's the way that maybe I might be generous and allow them a little Slack for dessert. Maybe they can have a little instant messenger Slack.
Why is it not like an intranet? Like, why is it an external app used by, like, on presumably their personal phone numbers?
I'm going to go A, because they're fucking idiots. Yeah. And they can't handle using something else.
Whoa.
B, Westminster is run on WhatsApp.
Yep.
I don't just mean the government. I mean, you know, politicians, briefings, etc., all of it. Side note, I find it fascinating how, like, different demographics have different messaging apps. But so kind of like WhatsApp is millennial Brit, right?
Yep.
Gen Z, younger, Snapchat. Snap group message. They fucking hate WhatsApp. Americans, iMessage.
GroupMe as well. They've an app called GroupMe.
Haven't heard of that.
Which I only used when I lived in America.
Right.
And I don't use it in the UK. And one of my American friends was like, "Why aren't you replying to me?" It's been years. They eventually like messaged me on Instagram and were like, "Are you ignoring me?" I was like, "What?" Then I re-downloaded GroupMe and I was like, "Oh, I have a year's worth of messages." I just haven't replied. Yeah.
Trying to get in touch.
Yeah. So felt very rude, but like Brits haven't even heard of GroupMe.
No, I haven't heard GroupMe.
Yeah, it's kind of just like WhatsApp. I don't really know what the difference is. Yeah, it's interesting.
Shall we draw a line under it there? Anything else you want to say?
Oh, the ARC conference.
Yes. There's a
speaking of cranks. Which we were 15 minutes ago.
There's a meetup of prime cunts in London today.
Absolute worst fuckers in the world.
Yeah. You know how oftentimes people say, you know, if you could drop a bomb somewhere, where would it be? This conference.
That's a huge thing to say.
All right.
Well, you've just called for the assassination of 2 government ministers. Which, I don't know. I'm going to disassociate.
Feels illegal.
I'm going to disassociate myself from those words.
In my role as editor of PoliticsJOE, I would like to distance the publication from the remarks I just made.
Yeah, so it's...
No, seriously though, come on.
Should we tell them what it is? And then they can decide.
That makes more sense.
Then they can decide whether or not.
Yeah.
So it's the inaugural meetup of the Alliance of Responsible Citizenship.
Red flag.
Yeah.
Completely banal, soft-sounding name, doesn't really make it clear what it is. 100% something fucking nefarious is going on.
And it's the usual suspects.
Who is it, Ed? Tell me.
Headliner, Jordan Peterson.
Okay.
Which, if you want to give your...
The bombing still stands up at this point.
I don't love the bombing bit. I'll be honest. I don't know. Call me a softie. Call me a snowflake. I don't know. I'm not... I might not tell you...
You MLK, me, Malcolm X.
Okay. Interesting.
You.
Right.
You.
Yep.
Jerry Adams.
Right.
Me. Yeah. Nah, I was going to go Michael Collins for me.
I think they had very similar aims.
No, obviously, no.
I don't know.
Obviously, different methods. Ends and means, my guy.
I don't know. I think John Hume's better. I think arguing. Do you believe Jerry Adams?
I love how uncomfortable this is making you.
You believe Jerry
Adams? How uncomfortable me saying you're like MLK has made you.
No, it wasn't that. It was more your naivety at believing Jerry Adams. I think that's it.
Okay. Continue with who else is there? Who else is there?
Jerry Adams, believe it or not. No, he's not.
No, he's obviously not there. He's one of the good guys.
Jerry Adams not there. Fucking new Speaker of the House of Representatives in the US, Mike Johnson, household name. Former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Kevin McCarthy. A man who's been named the most conservative senator in the US, Mike Lee.
Okay.
Then you've also got Michael Gove, I think he's doing his like bit of like taking the piss out of them. Because he did it at NatCon. He spoke, but he didn't really engage with any of the NatCon ideas.
Smart. I actually think it's quite smart political gamesmanship from him.
Yeah.
Because I think he feels empowered and strong enough within Conservative Party, internal party mechanics and politics.
Yep.
To be able to speak at these things, which are, for example, well, we still haven't told people what this Alliance for Responsible Citizenship Conference is. It's essentially climate denial, right? That's what's going on here.
It's certainly one of them. It's not just for that.
It's one of the themes.
As in, like, they're all just speaking about, like, they're all kind of just speaking about, like, high ideals about how to improve society. One of which, I don't know, might be denying climate change exists. That is a theme amongst the speakers.
I think I would struggle to disagree with the claim that the ecological collapse of the planet would be to the betterment of our society, Edward.
You'd struggle to...
I'm ironically saying they're fucking morons.
Right, okay. I was really struggling with like the double negative there. I had 2 hours sleep yesterday, so that might be why.
Bulgaria, Sophia, let's go. Choo-choo!
Who else is there? Kemi Badenoch is there?
Yeah, look, okay. Do I want Kemi Badenoch and Michael Gove to be bombed? No. Obviously,
Thank God
obviously I don't. Obviously, I don't. Do I think it's appropriate for a government minister to be speaking with this
Cranks, lunatics.
bag of cunts?
Yeah.
No, I do not. And you have to question why. Why are they there? What is it about the people who are speaking there, but also the audience and the politics of the people in that audience? And why do those two prominent Conservative Party politicians want to be parading themselves in front of that audience? Most importantly, in the context of where the Conservative Party goes next, once Rishi Sunak is evicted from Downing Street. That's why I think it's interesting.
It's interesting. And it's
also good for a joke about bombing it.
There's also just more and more of these events. Of like there's no real way that this is any different to NatCon conference. It's similar speakers. Danny Kruger and Miriam Cates will be there as per.
Yes.
So I think it's
my favorite double act.
Absolutely. Sensible ideas for a sensible prison.
Kruger and Cates.
More Christianity. Fewer abortions.
The smell of freshly cut grass.
I love England. Rolling hills. No abortions. Church on a Sunday.
And roast beef.
And absolutely not one abortion. Regardless of how that baby was conceived. The worst one. Think of the worst way a baby could have possibly been conceived. No abortions. Cricket on a Sunday. Read with mother.
Is this worse than me saying that we should bomb the conference?
Yes! No, it's not. Absolutely not.
I don't know. I'll leave the audience to form their own conclusions. Is that us?
I think so. I quite enjoyed
Dudes rock, man.
Dudes Do Rock. That was a platonic ideal of a podcast once again.
100%.
Two guys talking
Yeah.
and talking about Malcolm X and Jerry Adams.
Absolutely, yeah. Malcolm X, Jerry Adams, no women, and no abortions, as you've just said.
That is the PoliticsJOE platform.
See you in the subreddit after the episode for some good faith discussion, memes, that kind of thing. Until then, see you on the next one.
Bye-bye.